that my doctors know what they're doing when they prescribe it to me. And yes, my blood pressure goes down. So your neurologist is giving you the green light, and it's about, I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to trust my doctors because they are professionals. And I am the professional of my life. It's about you being the professional of your life.
Yeah, there's part of me in my soul energy that feels like I have to, and you may really understand this, I have to be perfect. I can't be, like I keep going, I've gone off my psychiatric meds for depression. Because for whatever reasons it flatlines me. I understand why Rose went on medication. That there's part of me that feels like if I do anything, like even tea, like caffeinated tea, I'm like really like, oh, I can't be doing that because it's going to keep me from ascension. Or, and that goes back to like nunnery times when we had to be pure, or some belief that in order to get into the kingdom of heaven, you have to be pure. I know that goes back to a time where I have that in me. I used to not take anything and that's like an eating disorder, which I've had, keeping track of every little thing I do, and am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong? That's, there's a lot of mental things that happened in my life that kind of caused this bulimia I had. As soon as I moved in with my dad, I had bulimia, right? Never realizing that bulimia was me. I couldn't scream, I didn't scream. And in trauma counseling, we got the bulimia was screaming. Yeah.
So it's also too, I just wrote down controlling. It's about you controlling every aspect of your life. And it's really about trusting your own innate authority. I mean, you've learned a lot of stuff about yourself, about trauma, about addiction, about everything. Trust that you know how to make decisions, right? It's about trusting that you know how to make decisions. And then you got Rose, who is kind of tugging on your skirt, but also tugging on your heartstrings, telling you, I am out of control. And you're like, oh, one more thing for me to control. I'm good at controlling. I'm going to control that too.
I mean, the energy at which after he called us, after we talked at 10:30 at night, and I'm in DBT class, it's great, it's learn how to function better. And I went into the emotional mind, and I could feel the need to fix it right there. Feeling that emotion, that you need to fix, that's a red flag. You need to kind of get it to the wise mind before you make the action. What did I do? I went up there, took them out to eat, bought them groceries, left them money. I did what I do. Try to fix it. But in hindsight, I realized what was happening. It's kind of a manipulation.
Not kind of, it was manipulation.
Okay.
Just call it, not kind of, it was manipulation. And that's bad. But that's the truth, right? That's the truth.
So this, check in with this condition of it comes and goes, but like I woke up and I believe I had a seizure. One part of my mind was like a TV screen that was black and white, scrambled, and this part of my mind was like a double thing, and I could tell.
It was like a what?
It was like double vision on one side of my mind, and a screen over here that was, and then my brain was like zapping electrical. Two things finally came together, and the rest of the day I was messed up. That's when Dave said, take the CBD, because I was like, no, I'm not going to take it so I can figure out what's happening exactly. So I don't know if I'm having seizures. I'm going to another neurologist. They didn't recognize any seizure when I went to the doctor before, but I wasn't having that. I've had that experience, before, of brain, not being able to see and having the brain kind of freak out. But it didn't happen while I was there. Like they couldn't record it on the EEGs. So I'm not even sure if I'm having seizures, but it sure does feel like it.
Well, a couple of things. One is if you had had a seizure, they can go in and tell that you had a seizure, right? They know because there's kind of residual things in the brain that say, well, Elizabeth had a seizure. What I'm getting is it's about harmonizing your brain, getting your brain to work both on the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, getting that to connect together. So we can do a little bit of theta healing around that too, so that you innately, like you can just say, oh, harmonize the brain. Like when that happens, I'm just going to harmonize the brain and allow those chemicals in your brain to do whatever they need to do.
Okay. As I am getting better from the head injury, I was doing online AA meetings and stuff, and I wrote out a check to them, and my handwriting was back, and that was recent. Because I didn't have that, I lost, the use of my right arm, and it was just everything was kind of scrambly. But then I wrote the check, and I'm like, oh, that is my handwriting. And that was just on the 30th of August. Keep track of everything now, what's happening, So that's good news, that it's not seizure-y.
And that's a great victory too. Celebrate your victories. I look at you and I think, first of all, I think you're beautiful. You have great skin and you just are beautiful. I mean, you're a beautiful, physically beautiful woman, and I know your heart is wide open, right? And so those things are things to celebrate. Wow. And I can't remember exactly how old you are, but I know you've told me you're not a spring chicken, right? You're not like 25. So, you look fabulous for your age. You're aging gracefully, right? You are so amazing, so brave to go through this. Give yourself credit. Just say, okay, when things start to go crazy, say, okay, I'm going to just settle for a second and say, okay, I've got these things to run through in my mind. I'm brave for facing my fears. I give myself credit that I have a beautiful home and a beautiful studio and a husband that I love. I'm going to give myself credit for that. I'm going to give myself credit that I am here, present now. And you've done the tapping, right? You can always tap in your chest. I'm here, I am present, I am now. I am here, I am present, I am now. I am now, I am here. Bring all that energy that kind of explodes in those moments back into you. And just go through that list of what you have accomplished. Take a deep breath and say, okay, I got this, I've got this. I may not have to deal with it right this moment, but I've got it. I've got it because, man, I got a good track record.
Yeah.
And you do. You have a great track record. Hello. I don't know that I could have done as well.
Yeah, I feel like this, it was like a God thing that I had an accident because I was a workaholic as well, and that stopped everything cold, and I got to remember, of course my mind split for a while, and part of my mind was suicidal, and I couldn't trust myself to be with myself. My child counselor said that was one part of my mind trying to protect me from seeing this girl and remembering the actual assaults on my tiny 4-year-old, 3-year-old body, and the memory of being patched up by my mother was like, what did you do? What did I do? So I took that on. What did I do? So we're working with that, but I had to, in order for me to release all that, I had to see it, and I had to feel it again. I had to experience the assault, which I did in the trauma lockdown. Um, I remembered everything, I experienced everything. I was screaming hysterically for a long time, just crawling underneath the sink, and it didn't look good. But I needed to. I never screamed. I wouldn't mute. That day I wouldn't mute. I became mute on that day. I didn't scream, and I didn't talk for a long time. I didn't talk until I started drinking. Anyway, now that it's behind me, I can see I had to go through that in order to clear it. And
Yes.
force forgiveness on any time that comes up, anything new, which does happen. And I have to put it in a box. My therapist is like, do not engage with it. Put it away. Then I do, God's love and interpret the situation. Just from the course. So I'm still doing the course. And I'm starting to understand it. Most important. You know what that means.
And doesn't it feel good to laugh? Like, doesn't it just feel good to laugh, right? Just to be in that moment and laugh and just say, oh my gosh, I'm finally getting it, right? I think you've gotten a lot more than you recognize, and I think that you'll start to recognize more and more and more. So I want to, we have about 20 minutes left, maybe a little more, and I want to do a little theta healing. We've done theta healing before, correct? Where I muscle test on your behalf.
Yeah, I was hoping that we could also release some psychic hooks from that. All that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Let's do some theta healing, and then we can talk about the psychic hooks, and then I'll take about 3 or 4 minutes at the very end and just do some energy work where we release all of that back to the light, and then allow anything that other people are holding on to. Because whenever we have an encounter with someone, we have an encounter that's intense, we give a little bit of our emotional piece to them, and they hold on to it, right?